Guys, welcome back to my reaction channel. It's your boy Chris, bringing out another SCP reaction video. We're gonna be reacting to the chapter 2 of the Tales from the Ikea SCP 3008. This time the Rooks, the War of Ikea. Y'all know the chapter 2. This is by SCP illustrated, by the way, so yeah. Like the video, guys, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell button for post notifications. If you have any suggestions, comment down below. With that being said, let's get into the intro.
This video contains strong language and strong violence.
For 7 days, gore and blood rained from above.
Yo, what
The stench of death and decay consumed the oxygen as the corpses mounted, and by the end, not even the staff would lift a hand to add to the pile of dead.
Here's chapter 2, guys.
Keep up, Mitch. I'm starting to see staff. It's nearly nightfall and we still got about an hour's walk before we reach the treehouse. Look at them. Great lumbering oafs. Yeah, you heard me, you faceless freak. A great lumbering oaf. Now piss off before I stick my spear in your head. Mitch. Mitch? What are you looking... oh. Those are bones, Mitch. That there
Bones.
is a shrine of sorts. And
What
the
do you mean,
remnants of
bones?
the war between the Rooks and the Sparrows. Two of the oldest and biggest communities that ever lived in here. They went to war for control of the
The
catwalks,
Rooks.
all the way up there. It's too
Against the
bright for us to
Sparrow,
see them
okay.
now, but at night, you can just about see the lights that they've strung up. Their war is legend. Pretty much everyone in here knows the story.
What?
Come on, I'll tell you the tale on the way home.
I thought you wouldn't tell me though.
So, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away... No, I'm just messing with you. There used to be two huge factions called the Rooks and the Sparrows. There were a few
Okay.
smaller ones like ourselves, but back then it was a different time. People weren't as amicable as they can be now.
How
You'd
exactly do
increase
you
your
know
odds of
this one though?
survival by joining one of those two. The Sparrows and Rooks were led by a brother and sister. Different people say different things. Husband and wife, brother and sister, friends, whatever. Most people say brother and sister. The sister led the Rooks, and the brother led the Sparrows. By sheer fluke, or maybe just damn good luck, they'd stumbled across the catwalks. The story gets a bit fuzzy here as how they got up there. Some say they climbed the pillars, some say they found a secret staircase, and some stupid fuckers believe they grew wings and flew up there. In any event, they lived up on the catwalks. Now, as with most alliances, as the years went by, things began to fall apart. You see, the Rooks preferred to raid the smaller settlements, take what they had, recruit new people to their cause, and kill those who defied them, very
Oh.
much in keeping with the social climate of its time inside Ikea. The
Okay.
Sparrows, however, took a different approach and opted for trade, much like how we operate today. Now, trading is not going to get you nearly as many resources as simply killing everyone and taking their shit, and before long, the Sparrows began to find themselves pushed for supplies to feed their quickly growing community. The brother's son and his advisors tried to reason with him to stop letting in new people, but the brother insisted they needed the numbers to defend themselves in case his sister got ideas.
Stupid.
Soon, though,
Dumbass.
the brother was forced to approach his sister and request aid for his people. His sister by this point, however, had become drunk on the power and fear she commanded. She gave no aid and mocked her brother. To make matters worse, she took advantage of his situation and demanded that he join her to create the biggest faction. It would make them the undisputable superpower of Ikea.
No.
She disguised it as a salvation for his people, but her real motives were pretty clear. She wanted to spite her older brother.
Yeah.
She did not take his refusal well. Jealousy and anger can pull apart even the strongest bonds, son. That night, the brother's son was captured by the Rooks. She had him strung up over the catwalks in full view of the Sparrows and the brother and demanded their surrender. Bargains were offered, terms were presented, but the sister would hear none of it. It was total unconditional surrender or nothing. It gets a little bit fuzzy again here, but something happened during this parley that pushed the tensions to breaking point. One of the groups engaged the other, Some say the sparrows attacked the rooks, and some say the rooks attacked the sparrows. It doesn't matter. The brother's son had his guts ripped out,
Pause.
and he was thrown over the railings.
Pause. Here's the thing though. If the sparrow attacked the rooks, they shouldn't be complaining about it though. They'd be asking for it though. They kidnapped the sons, the leader of the son of the leader, So yeah, they're asking for it though. So if they attack you, don't complain shit, bro. What the fuck?
When the brother learned of what had happened, hell came to Ikea. After years of recruitment, the sparrows had a lot of people to bulk out their force. However, where the rooks lacked numbers, they had skill. Remember how they became so famous in the first place? It wasn't for their customer service. For 7 days, blood and bodies rained down from above. The tribes below were forced to cover under shells for fear of being crushed. Entire settlements were reduced to ruins as falling bodies smashed down their walls. The sound of it was like the angels of heaven fighting the beasts of hell. It was a horrible time. The other tribes couldn't move for fear of getting crushed. They couldn't sleep. They couldn't breathe for all the blood and corpses around them. Some decided it was all too much and began jumping from the top of the shelves, and I can't say I blame them. Even the staff didn't attack at night. They were too focused on just looking up and watching the war unfold. Distracted by the noise, I imagine. By day, the tribes waged war, and by night they tortured and executed any survivors. After a few days, things were getting desperate. Both sides conducted raids on the ground settlements. The rooks press-ganged anyone they could find into fighting, and the sparrows just straight up began stealing all the food and water they could find. In his lust for victory, the brother would have entire settlements brought down just to get at what few rations they had. Both sides eventually caught on to the other though, and had archery posts set up around the pillars. Soon as either side came down, they were shot. That essentially put an end to the ground raids, much to the ground tribe's relief, I imagine. In one particularly well-known battle, the sister's daughter took on the brother's two best fighters. It was described as more of a dance than a fight. You know how in fancy video game animations or movies, you see the fighter roll around and do special moves and do perfect dodges? Well, the story says
I'm
that was how she
this so
fought,
much.
apparently. She managed to tire them both out until they couldn't fight no more, and exactly the same as the brothers.
It reminds me so much of the Battle of Troy in Greek mythology. This shit, bro. The presentation is so good.
The sun, they were thrown over the railings.
Oh.
The brother's grief was insurmountable. He had lost his son and his best fighters, and his people were starving. Rage began to consume him as his mind became unhinged, and he took great pleasure in causing as much pain as possible to his sister and her people in any way he could. The stories get pretty dark here, but the brother's screws began to loosen, big time. It is said that he had enemy prisoners strung up, began carving stakes out of them, and even sucked the blood from their veins. Others he released to then go and tell the Rooks the story, but not before mutilating them to the point they couldn't fight again, cutting off their legs, mangling their arms, and even breaking their spines. I figure it was his attempt at psychological warfare.
Breaking their spine.
Whether it worked or not, I do not know. I guess he was just trying anything at this point to try and get an edge. On the 6th day, they say the brother lost 50 of his own just to capture his sister's daughter. While his sister watched, he had her lowered into the open arms of the IKEA employees. He did it slowly.
Yo,
they tore off her legs,
I'm liking
ripped
this too,
her
bro.
open, pulled her insides out bit by bit.
Yeah.
They say her screams could be
Eye
heard
for an
across the
eye.
entire store. The 7th day was when it all ended. In a final all-out assault, the Rooks ambushed the Sparrows in their home base. Entire gantry platforms fell under the weight of the fighting. Finally, the brother and sister stood against one another. He was strong, and she was fast. The legend says that by the end the brother had been cut 1,000 times by her blade, and the only bones of the sister that weren't broken were her fighting arm and the leg she stood on. I personally find that a bit fanciful, but it makes for dramatic storytelling, I guess. Neither the brother or sister ceded defeat, and both were too consumed with revenge and anger to let the war end in any other way than victory. As the sister thrust her blade into her brother's throat, he pulled her over the railings and they both fell to join the bodies.
So
The
they both
Rooks'
died.
skill ultimately persevered over the Sparrows' numbers, and they
Oh.
seized victory after the Sparrows surrendered. Surprisingly, they were shown mercy, and were offered a choice to join them under a new leader and new rules, or be banished and join the ground tribes. Those still loyal to the brother decided to leave, but a great deal more decided to stay, which to me makes sense. No staff can reach them up there, and no faction is going to try attacking the Rooks. The bodies were all gathered and piled up into the mountain you saw as some kind of weird memorial, lest we forget or something like that. After the carnage the war had caused, the Rooks adopted a
Well,
new
at
way
least
of
there's
doing
an
things.
evidence that it
No
actually
more
happened,
raids,
you know.
and no more killing. They instead live a quiet and reclusive life now. The only evidence of their existence is when you see their lights go on at night. I imagine they come down sometimes to scavenge or trade for supplies, but you only ever really hear of them now in the same tale I've just told you. It took some
Okay.
time for Ikea to heal after the war. It was in ruin. The stench of death was everywhere and dried blood caked everything. The story goes that once the war finally finished, the next day the sound of air conditioning could be heard. Something somewhere was circulating the air to get rid of the smell. Also, it rained. I mean, of course it didn't actually
What the
rain,
fuck?
but the sprinkler system turned on and washed away the blood.
Oh, I
New
thought it
stock
rained
began appearing,
inside
replacing the
Ikea.
damaged and bloody ones.
Shit,
It took some
bizarre,
time,
so.
but eventually Ikea healed from the war. Here's a conundrum for you though, Mitch. When the cleanup was happening and all the bodies were being gathered, the brother and sister's bodies were never found. They never found any trace of them. Now there is some speculation that the ground tribes hid the bodies to prevent the possibility of them becoming martyrs. However, there's this one tribe, a very old tribe, and quite a trek from here. One of their elders was there. He was just a young boy at the time, but he has his own version of events.
What?
He says the brother and sister's bodies were picked up by the staff. They were carried on their shoulders to a door. No one else has ever seen this door, and
Manager's
some doubt its
office.
existence. But we are in a department store, so you would expect a door like this to be somewhere in here. He says that there, at the top of the door, in bright gold lettering, it said, Manager's Office.
So someone is playing in the background, okay.
Thank you all so much for watching. Please like
Yo.
this video and subscribe to the channel to see more SCP content. Thank you to all the incredible members and patrons who keep this channel.
Yo guys, that is the SCP 3008, the Rooks, the War in Ikea by SCP Illustrated, Tales from the Ikea, you know. Yeah, it was crazy, bro. I'm so glad that I reacted to this video. This shit is crazy, bro. Anyways, I got a theory though, like the manager, you know, the manager is actually the one that was playing behind the scenes, you know, in the background, like pitting each other, brothers and sisters, you know. It seems that way to me because the sister wouldn't be as much as power hungry as I possibly think, you know, to even battle his own brother. There's a lot of versions to it, you know. Also, when they both died, like someone carried their body. That's what the elder said from the older tribe, you know. So yeah, somebody's definitely playing games here. Anyways, you know, y'all know how it is. Like the video, you know, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell button for post notifications so you won't miss out on my future videos, you know. Comment down below if you have any suggestions. With that being said, I'll see you guys soon.